Last couple of days, I've been thinking about John chapter 15, verse 13. And it says, "Greater love hath no man," reading from the King James, "greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And in this whole chapter 15, Jesus was, just summarizing his relationship with the apostles and their relationships to him. Talking about the fact that, how tight they were, how close they were, how they could maintain, and not just them, but us, how we maintain our relationship with Christ. Stuff like if we live the way Jesus said to live, then that's how we keep our good, healthy relationship with him, by obeying his commandments. If you obey my commandments, then are we friends indeed. This whole chapter is about relationships, our relationship to Christ, and subsequently our relationship to one another. And so he said, "Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." He also said for us to love one another, and he's telling us that as Christian folks, we're expected to follow his example, because he's laying down his life for us. And he said to love one another, and greater love, there's no greater love than that self-sacrifice, that self-denial, not just for everyone, but in particular for your own folks, especially the Christian folks. And so, I've just been meditating on this, just in trying to see it in its various forms. You mean the greatest love I can show, I can exercise, is not laying down my life for my kids, my grandkids. It seemed like those would be the most natural expression of our love, the things that we do for our loved ones and our friends, or people within our close circle. And just knowing the fact that everything about God, everything about Jesus Christ is deeper than the surface, how it looks on the surface. So I'm meditating on it and trying to find more. No greater love. There's no greater love than this, that a man should lay down his life for his friends. And just, bringing it down to our level, I'm saying, well, first of all, you got to identify who your friends are. And there are a whole lot of, we know the stuff, there are a whole lot of people that are friends for a minute, or seem like our friends for a minute. Friendships are an ever-growing thing. You look at Jesus, and when he was speaking this, he was not only talking to the 11 good guys. Judas was there too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so you see that, there's a bunch of people around us that there are friends today, and some of them are friends by convenience. That's what I'm getting at, right? But at some point when we're looking at them, we're seeing them as friends, and Jesus is saying, like, yeah, if your friendship is healthy and good, then the greatest expression of love that you can show is that you lay down your life for these folks. Again, I just been contemplating it, trying to break it down to a place where I can express it myself and share it with all of you. And I haven't really concluded, my thought on it, but I needed to get it out. And so the number one thing that I want to convey to you is think about it. That the greatest expression of love is not what you feel for your spouse or your children, your parents. Jesus said the greatest love. There's no greater love than that a man should lay down his life for his friends. And I know that in the spiritual contents of it, or context of it, that Jesus was talking about us. He was looking beyond that moment, 2,000 plus years ago, and he was looking into eternity and looking and seeing those of us who become, true followers of him, to this day and beyond until he returns. He was looking at not only his current friends, but friends to come. He was looking at the cross, because he was laying down his life for his friends. No greater love. You mean when I'm doing the Valentine's Day thing, when I'm doing the dating thing, when I'm doing the marriage thing, you mean there's a greater love than that? Yeah, that's what Jesus is saying. When I'm spending my money on the objects of my affections, he's saying there's greater love than that. When you're showing you're expressing your love to your spouse, with the gifts and the this and that and whatever, he said there's a greater love. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the laying down your life part. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm asking myself, like, who and could I lay down my life for somebody else? And I'm thinking about pain, because I'm not I'm adverse to pain. I don't like pain much. And I'm thinking, like, given the choice, am I brave enough? Am I bold enough to do that? And I at this point in my life, I'm not. I'm not. I guess I'm not there yet. That as much as I love my little granddaughter, I mean, I wouldn't put myself into harm's way to save her. I mean, I would have to think about it. I mean, I'm going to try, right? But I'm not going to I'm not that person, you know. You know, you hear about people on the battlefield, you know, in war, and they throw themselves on the grenade and the explosives and all that stuff to protect other folks. I'm not that kind of guy. You know, I'm going to try and I'll try and figure out some way, but um, again, you know, if my granddaughter was crossing the road, um, and cars coming, I mean, I'm gonna try and grab her and try and do some things, but um, I'm not the guy that's gonna, you know, throw myself on an IUD just to save the rest of the folks. The greatest love that can be shown is that a man would lay down his life for his friends, and it means deliberately, because Jesus, with thoughts and everything in place, made that choice to go to the cross, and it was very painful. You know, the cross wasn't no picnic. You know, it wasn't like we see today. You know, people walking around with their gold cross, and you know, it's social status. The cross was a very painful. Um, it's associated with suffering and the worst of the worst. It wasn't, you know, like we do with our murderers today. We just put some IVs in their veins, and you know, they just go to sleep. You know, they arrested him and they took turns beating on him physically, the psychological, you know, pains, and you know, it wasn't an instant death. You know, from the time he was arrested, I mean, he was abused all the way through to the painful death of the cross. So, you know, he's looking at the worst form of death, and it's a death by choice. You're sacrificing, you're giving up your life, um, you know, for a friend. You know, and when you think about it real deep, you know, it's like, why am I giving up my life for this person when this person could turn against me at some point in life? You know, people stop being quote unquote friends with other folks for various reasons. You know, time and distances and circumstances changes friendship. You know, even the folks that Jesus was talking to at the time, we again, I reiterate about Judas. You know, he turned against Jesus, sold him not to remember for 30 pieces of silver. So, you know, when you're thinking about all those things, it's like, I only have one life to live, and why am I giving up this one life for somebody that, um, you know, could possibly just forget all about me, forget all about this sacrifice that I'm making for them. Something to think about. I think all of us need to think about that, and we think about, on the one hand, we should think about, you know, when, you know, the people that we claim that we love, and would we be willing to die for them? You know, it's easy to give up our money, it's easy to buy them stuff, but to give up this one life that I have, to give up my, yeah, just give up my life, to do something that I know there's no return from. So there's no greater love than that a man, and not just a man, but a person should give up their lives for a friend. You know, we normally thought that our family bond, the bond between us and our children, our spouses, those kind of relationship were closer than friendship. But of course, I've come to learn that, and the Bible kind of support this. He said that there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. This is great food for thought. There's no greater love than that someone would give up their lives, your life, for a friend. I mean, there's a lot to ponder, like friendship, what love is, about our lives, my life. Um, it's a pretty deep verse to, it's a very deep verse, and on so many different um, levels, so many things to contemplate. And so I want to just give that to you today, leave that with you today. John chapter 15, verse 15. Is it? No greater love than that, or greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Again, personally, when I think about it, and I suppose it's just the engineering part of me that I gotta, think it, or just my personality, think it out. Because I'm thinking, if I'm going to make this great sacrifice, I've got to be guaranteed that the result is going to be what I expect it to be. I have to think everything out. I'm not a reactionary. I'm not a I guess reactionary is a good word. I tend to think, things out. And so, I'm thinking if I would even come close to making, that kind of decision, I want some guarantee that the results are going to be, what I want it to be. And as we like to say, there are no guarantees in life, right? No greater love. And perhaps, it's an age thing with me. I've lived so long, I'm going to be 67 in a few days. And knowing how life can be, I think maybe that's what's weighing or influencing my decision, knowing about all the randomness of life, things outside of our control that can come in and causes change or changes. And so with that in mind, I know that if I was to make that decision for someone, that things could change, and the end result, things could occur that would make the end results unsatisfactory to me. That would, even though my intentions were right, there are things that could impact the results. that when I look back in retrospect, I would have been disappointed. But then I would have been dead and gone, so I couldn't do anything about it. Personally, that's one of the reasons why I preach, because I think that this is the best thing that I could give to anybody. I don't think myself laying down my life instead of somebody else, I don't see that as a solution on a personal level. It's always easy for me to say to folks, and their truism to that, it's truth. Jesus laid down his life for all of us. And so I like to my friends and family and everybody else, I like to say, hey, don't look to me. Pretty much this is what I'm saying. Don't look to me to lay down my life for you. Jesus already laid down his life for you, and that's good enough. That is my my personal stand on it, that I don't really need to lay down my life for my people. I try to give them Jesus and say, hey, let Jesus be your friend. He's qualified, capable. He has already done it. And me laying down my life for anybody, maybe in a physical sense, it might be beneficial, but Jesus laying down his life is the ultimate, because it was for spiritual it was for people's spiritual health, wealth, and success. Jesus already died, and he's the best friend that anybody can have. God don't give you any more than you can bear. And, I believe that that's why I'm never in that situation that I have to put myself in physical danger to ensure the safety of somebody else. A part of this journey in following Jesus is you have to know yourself. You have to know your strength and your weaknesses, and that's one of my things. I'm not, I've never been in physical danger myself throughout my life, and so I'm not familiar or comfortable with, and I wouldn't be in being in that situation. That's not a call that I've had to make for anybody, my children, grandkids, friends, people, neighbors, whatever. But I think most importantly, when you look at this, though, when you look at this verse and talking about what the greatest love is, I think it shows us, most importantly, how, or show us the value of this human affection that we have for other folks. It shows us that our affection really pales in comparison to what the greatest love is. It pales. All this affection that we feel for one another, that there's something, when we think about it, we see, or when we think about it in comparison to this verse, we see that there's something greater. No greater love has anybody than that they would lay down their lives for their friends. And another way you could think about it is that if I would do this for my friends, then it would seem like I would do even more for my loved ones. My family, friends, my family, my kids, grandkids, my spouse. Um, you know, no greater love than this. Someone would lay down their lives for a friend. Think about it. Bless up.